We're all sorry. Cannot wait. Cannot run tonight. Where are you? That's what I was saying as we were waiting for Andrew to join.
Yeah. So,
Hey, Andrew. Guess what? Congratulations on selling.
Thank you.
oh, once again, once you turned on your mic or your camera, your audio went to your camera.
Son of a sea biscuit. Son of a. Tommy Boy reference? Great movie.
You think that the stinking settings would stay the same?
It doesn't sound bad. Hey, what's your default set to?
I don't know.
That's a weird setting.
It can be done. You can just probably go into the code and
Set to I don't know.
set it to I don't know.
There we go. That should work.
There it is. Sounds much better.
There we go.
Perfect.
This week on Boomers Record a Podcast.
Boomer Joins a podcast.
No, I was going to say, go listen
This week on Andrew's a Boomer. Doesn't know his technology.
Hey, you kids, get off my lawn.
The way I heard it with Micro. That's such a good podcast. Oh.
I don't know if I've ever listened to that one.
It's good. And Micro is, every time I listen to him, is more of a guy I would love to sit down and like have a cigar and drink a beer with.
Like the Dirty Jobs guy you're talking about, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, Mike Rowe. Yeah, I would
Mike
love to have a
Rowe.
beer with Mike Rowe.
Yeah.
What a Chad.
What a guy.
What a
be fun.
dude. So, I don't know, Connor, did you see the Oscars this year, or at least the famous speech from it?
No, are you talking about the guy who talked really long? He gave the longest Oscar speech in Oscars history? You talking about him?
No. There was one gentleman. It's the brother of the guy who plays the kid from Home Alone.
Oh, Macaulay Culkin's brother?
Yeah.
What's his first name? I don't know. Yeah, he's talking about how he wants to have another kid with his wife.
Yeah, they had like a bet. Where
Bet
it's
if you got an Oscar,
we
you can have another kid.
They can have a fourth kid, and he's like openly like, "Hey, let's
get working.
let's."
This is the first time I brought it up.
Yeah,
Time he's brought it up since his wife talked about it.
yeah. I don't know if you caught my reference there, where he's like, he points to, or says the name of his wife, "My love, my life, ye of little faith."
That's from something else, though, isn't it?
That's I think
It's a reference.
It's also biblical, but yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's biblical. Somewhere I quote my scriptures like St. Paul, somewhere in the Bible.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's somewhere. in there.
Yep. It's somewhere in there.
I know it's just
typical Catholic answer, right? Like, oh, I've heard it before. Trust me, it's in there, guys.
I'm pretty sure I
Yeah,
heard that at Maths once, maybe.
heard it at the
I think.
readings.
Yeah.
Well, when we were missionaries, one of the tasks, so like you're given is you have to read the narrative version of the Bible, so all the narrative books within 2 years, and it gives you like a Bible reading timeline and stuff. Technically, I have read all the narratives of the Bible, and then along with it goes with the catechism.
Okay. Cool.
Not to toot my own horn or anything, but
Hey guys, look, Connor's tooting his own horn again. Look at that horn tooter. There he goes.
Shame.
sorry, Andrew's a horn tooter too.
Aren't we all?
Okay, playing a trumpet and tuning a horn are two different things, sir.
Toot toot. Andrew can play a mean version of taps.
I don't know. Whenever I toot my horn, I'm always blaming the dog.
That just happens with age.
No. Or your kid. And it's like, oh no, it was the kid.
Oh, freaking my son can fart with the best of them. Oh man, can he freaking drop bombs? And just like sitting there, and all of a sudden you're like, "Did you poop?" And then you just go check, and it's just like, "Holy crap, kid!"
Yep.
Like, how does that come out of someone so sweet?
How much
So
poop
small.
comes out of that butt?
Oh boy. So alrighty. Well, Andrew, you're up to snuff on what we're talking about today.
Something Ponzi schemes.
Something
Death Star.
dark side. Something complete.
Step
3, profit.
Yes. Step 1, think of a
Question
video
mark?
game. Step 2, crowdfund it. Step 3, question mark. Step 4, profit.
Profit.
I think that question mark is Ponzi scheme. All right.
That's
Welcome
exactly-
everyone to Those Catholic Gamers, a podcast where Catholic guys come together to talk about video games and the Catholic faith. I'm James, your host, and today I have with me Andrew
What's up, guys?
and Connor.
Ultimate power.
Alrighty, and today we are discussing the CD side of video games and Steam in the sense of the what was it? The early access scam, abandonment, our history of getting burned, and the underlying ever elusive juggernaut that is Star Citizen. Connor recently, was it just today, sent us a message about the what was it, the landmark, the statement that they had passed over $800 million in raising of funds. Now, raising of funds as a big quotation there. That's also now in like microtransactions and the purchasing of cosmetics within the game itself. And I don't call a $4,000 ship that you can buy and drive around in that game really a microtransaction. So
Yeah, that's definitely up in there with like macro economies as of scale when you're spending $4,000 on a playable character or a playable item. Yeah, I think the whole deal, this is an issue throughout gaming in the fact that in 2025, the current year,
Year of our Lord.
we're expected to buy unfinished games. Steam is notorious for like, hey, here's an early access game. And so you're like, oh, that looks kind of interesting, kind of cool. So you click on it and you get this early access game. And sometimes you pay for it, sometimes you don't. But instead of getting gameplay or better graphics or a sense of a narrative or anything, you have a sandbox of an unfinished game. And it takes sometimes they pull through, and sometimes they finish the game, and sometimes it turns out really good, and sometimes it's like, hey guys, like I know you bought the game 3 years ago and it was really bad and you don't play it, but like we fixed it, we promise, come back please.
Here, it's fixed now. Please play.
And yeah, and Star Citizen I think is the one that is the most notorious for this because of all the hype and the promises that were made that have still yet to come to fruition.
All of the carrot dangling.
Which I remember happening in recent memory for me with Cyberpunk 2077. That game had a ton of hype, early access. If you pre-order the game, you get this special starter gun and you get this special starter vehicle, and you can only get it, and it's exclusive to pre-ordering the game. And then the memes that came out of that, and how, hey, the version 1 that was dropped was a buggy mess. So like, yeah, you could drive that special vehicle that was early access only, but your character teleported out the roof and it was completely undrivable. So that was cool. or all the different weird things that happened with that game. But at least with that, like with that one in particular, because I fell for the hype on that one, because I was a huge fan of Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 was just an
such a good game.
incredible video game. And so I was like, okay, so CD Projekt Red, this is their next thing. They just masterpiece with Witcher
They
3.
can't-
So I bought into the hype.
They can't make a bad game, right?
Yeah, no, it's not possible, is it?
Well, what's funny though is how many people, because Witcher 3 at the end of its life was such a good game, people forgot how bad of a buggy mess it was when it first came out.
Yeah,
No.
and I think that's the issue. But at least with that, you did get a game at the end. You know, when it was
Yeah.
released, the sale price, like, hey, like you actually got a game. We can do something with this here.
They finally delivered eventually.
So
At least
Okay.
a product.
okay, to Star Citizens, what was it?
$800 million
Credit?
in the last 10
Credit?
years.
No,
Okay,
credit.
okay. So I'm
To
gonna
the-
be honest with you guys. I don't know anything about Star Citizen or the hype that was around it. I wasn't really encountered around it. I just know you guys talk about it quite a bit. So I want you guys to go through why as someone who knows nothing about Star Citizen, explain it from the beginning. Like as like
Okay, Connor,
a quick
5-minute
elevator speech.
here we go. Have you ever wanted to travel the stars?
Maybe?
Have you ever wanted to interact with other players in a massively multiplayer online universe?
like World of Warcraft or RuneScape?
No,
except that every single interaction that you have on this platform is with an actual real person. So if you want to be a merchant, you can be a merchant. If you want to be a mercenary, you can be a mercenary. If you want to be a starship pilot, you can be a starship pilot. Anything you can imagine, anything that you want to be, you are. And
Like
the
EVE
game
Online?
and the game does it. The game does it. It just does it. You know, it's so big, and it's all procedurally generated, so like it's infinite, and it's as big as the universe.
Oh.
And we're going to run the platform with transactions, and these transactions are going to buy the server space. So this game is going to exist in perpetuity as long as there's a player base, because everybody is going to play it, and everybody is going to be a Star Citizen.
That's how they talked about it.
That's part of it. Another part was your ability to purchase and own your own starship and being able to fly around in a completely handcrafted, what was it? It's like multi solar systems at least, if not a whole galaxy. And you can walk around in the game. Right, it's not EVE Online where it's, you know, you're on the outside of the ship. It's you are in the cockpit. You can get up from the cockpit. So it was taking the dynamics of EVE, taking the dynamics of what's the endless sky or endless space. I forget the name of the other.
No Man's Sky.
No, not No Man's Sky. It was you can actually you sit in the cockpit and you can drive your ship in a space like that. But
Star Wars.
Yeah. So sorry, I've got something in my throat. 1 second.
I mean, the thing that I just get so surprised about how gullible gamers can be sometimes, where there's some people that just know how to market fluff in such a way that it kind of captivates the soul. Like us as humans have a natural wanderlust, as me and Andrew have talked off podcast about wanting to get motorcycles and drive all the way to Yellowstone and have a good time. Like we have a natural idea of like wanderlust, and that's kind of what this game kind of is marketed towards. I feel like, like the idea of you could find anything, you could find something surprising, right? Like there's a sense of like gambling almost, where that's how the gamblers get stuck into the gambling loop of, well, you could get anything. You could get a super expensive card, or you could win the jackpot. It could happen. It could happen. And then, but majority of the time you won't. So like, I just feel like that's all this game has been marketed as, is like, well, we're still working on it. It could be huge. And haven't there actually been some like cool server? I think I was watching something about how Star Citizen actually has like a cool server, because there's a bunch of different servers, and like when you normally switch between servers, there's a lag. So if you're like flying in between different servers, you would encounter a lag spike. But they created some type of like a technology that gets rid of the lag in between servers. That's like never been done before.
Yeah, I don't know the technicals. Like, I'll be transparent as well. Is I've just kind of seen the hype of Star Citizen, and I've seen like little bits and pieces of the like some gameplay or some like what are they called, concept images and stuff. And like the idea of the game is it's a really cool game in in theory, right? And that's what people have bought into, is they've bought into like the theory that this is a good game, or that it has the potential to be a good game, because it checks all the boxes that you want in an MMO. And it's also an RPG, and it's also like, first person, third person, like you have so many different options. And as video games have gone on, and as fidelity with graphics cards and things have gotten better technology wise, like people can see that the technology exists to accomplish this. It's just they've promised so much that how does a development team actually deliver on all the promises that they've made?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they call it server meshing. You can look it up.
Yeah.
So our citizen server meshing. But yeah, I mean, I get it. When you get to the point where you promise the world, it's kind of hard. It's an overpromise, underdeliver problem.
And really what you need to be doing is under promising and over delivering. Like that's the key to success. Under promise, over deliver.
That's how Bailey Barnum got his start.
Well,
the circus guy?
Yeah, the scam artist.
Scam artist.
I don't know. I watched the musical about that guy. It seemed pretty legit.
Yeah, the musical was not accurate whatsoever.
I don't know what you're talking about. The year is 2025. Every musical ever produced ever is 100% the truth.
Like Cats.
He was a bit of a charlatan. So, all right. So I guess I have a bit more, not hands-on, but adjacent experience with Star Citizen. I actually had a buddy of mine who used to be into video games. It was back in 2014, 2015. He built his own computer, and it was actually because of watching him build his computer, I wanted to build mine, which I finally did in 2018. And he got into like the actual joystick with the throttle, because all of that is integrated into the game, and you can actually play that in the game. That's how you control your ship. I remember seeing this and thinking, wow, this looks great. And he got burned really bad, because essentially it's been kind of, every year, it's like you said, Connor, right? It's, it's just a little bit further down the road. It's just a little bit further down the road.
Just got to keep delaying it just a little bit.
Granted, they have made improvements. They have been developing the game. People on the outside, like us, see this and think, this is bad. This kind of feels not like a Ponzi scheme, but like, you know how like when you kind of meet somebody and you're like, oh, are you in a cult? I think you're in a cult. It's just kind of like, it's like you're so sucked in that you can't take a step back and say there's something wrong with this setup.
Drinking all the red Kool-Aid.
And I mean, I want to like Star Citizen. I was getting involved in the just kind of like seeing what this game was about. Squadron 42 was kind of like announced during this time, which is still not out. They are saying that it's supposed to be released in 2026, which is the single player version of with a story and all that in the universe of Star Citizen. And they roped in a lot of people like oh gosh, what was it? Who's Commissioner Gordon in the Dark Knight series? Who's the actor?
I don't know actors' names.
It is Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman like has a significant portion in the game. As like an admiral, and Mark Hamill is in this game. Mark Strong, John Rhys Davis, just like Ian Duncan, Harry Cavill. Like these people have invested time and energy in mocap for this game that was announced 11 years ago and is supposed to be coming out, at least the Squadron 42 coming out in a year from now. And I would not be surprised if at this year's Star Citizen Con, or Citizen Con, which I mean, I'm just seeing it now, right? It's in the name, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Everything has a con these days. There's a
right?
There's a conference for everything.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, con as in like you're getting conned, but what was it? I wouldn't be surprised if they push it off another year, and they push it off another year, and they push it off another year. And that's
here's the problem, right? So like if they're making hundreds of millions of dollars, that's the whole point of making a video game, is you want to make money. Like that's the whole point of it. So like the developers have no incentive whatsoever to release this game if all they're going to do is just keep crowdfunding like these games. Like the owners of this company have already made their money. Like they could go bankrupt tomorrow and they'll be millionaires. Like
well, that's kind of part of
itself.
that's part of the issue though, because my understanding is the way that crowdfunding works from like a tax perspective is like you actually have to like have a product at the end. Like it actually has to deliver something or some promise or some benefit to, because they're not purchasers then. They're pledgers. They've pledged money. They haven't purchased anything. They are pledging their funds towards the marketing of a product. And if the product never hits, like what's the implication of that? What precedent is it going to set? Because I mean,
they've already set the precedent. They've already set a precedent of just crowdfunding everything, but not actually delivering anything. And then when they do deliver, it's going to be a commercial. It's just the game itself is going to be a commercial flop. Like it's definitely not going to have the amount of like
unless they actually deliver.
All it is,
unless they deliver, and it's like the most awesome game ever.
And it's Skyrim 2.0 MMO. And everybody loves it, and they make it for every console under the sun, and including refrigerators.
Yeah. No, what was it? I found a Reddit article or Reddit post from about 3 years ago, and it's asking this question, right? Is Star Citizen a scam? And the top voted reply is, it's part scam, part game, parts one man's dream, all drama. If it's just a scam, then it's one of the most diabolical scams ever and will eventually get its own docuseries. If it's just a game, then it's one of the most poorly managed games in history. If it's just one man's dream, congrats, you're in a cult.
I don't know. I think Bernie Madoff would give a run for money for scam wise. Didn't he? I forget how much money he scammed people out of. Wasn't it like
Billions.
2.3 billion or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's
So-
kind of it's kind of hard to beat that. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a lot of money. $8 million, $800 million
$800.
is a lot of money. But like, Bernie Madoff, pretty big scam artist there.
Yeah, fair enough. So, all right. Well, let's take a step back from Star Citizen. Have any of us, in our experience and our history of playing games, have we ever been burned by I don't know, the early access or the enticement of a up and coming game that we want to play that under delivers? I mean severely under delivers. Connor, how about you? Let's go with you first.
As of recent memory, Payday 3.
Oh,
Me being
I was not expecting that.
Payday 3 has been a cluster truck, to say the least. And just to give you an example of what happened with Payday 3. So Payday 2, one of my favorite games of all time. I went back and played it the other day. It is just as much fun as I remember it to be. I know we've talked about it on the podcast. Definitely not the best game morally wise, but such an addictively fun game. And I was like, this is amazing. I love this game, figuratively, of course. And I just would love a sequel because this game is just super old at this point, and it just doesn't it doesn't have it's showing its age very hard. And I was like, and then they promised this Payday 3, and I was like, exactly. We need we need the exact game, but just a different engine update, and it'll be perfect. Well, they announced it, and then they kept pushing it back, and then they mentioned it again, make a little teaser here and there, and then it releases. I kid you not, I was planning on taking work off on the release day, but I had just started a new job. Like I wanted to sit in my house while my son was at daycare and my wife was at work and play this game all day long. That's how like intense of like what I wanted to do with this game. Well, I started a new job, didn't have enough PTO, couldn't take a day off, and I was kind of bummed. Turns out the entire first 4 days of the launch, the servers were down. And there was over 100,000 people trying to log in to play this game at one point, and it was online only game. So nobody could play, and everybody was furious. And it's gonna bring the company down because they put too much money on board with this Payday 3. And it was, even when you could play the game, it's the first, was it 3 months, the leveling system was atrocious, and just you couldn't play the game or level up unless you had to play in the way that they wanted you to play. And they did it on purpose because they didn't have enough content at release, even though they had spent like 5 hours making this, or 5 years making this game. And to this day, they are still just not even trickle feeding content out. And like there's so many flaws within the IO of the game and just how you interact with everything. It's just a total buggy mess. And I started playing it, and I was like, this is kind of fun. And then I went back and played Payday 2, and I was like, no, I'm sorry. Payday 3 is not even close to the same amount of fun. So yeah, that's my recent experience of being like,
I was right there. I was right there with you because Connor
You
was
played
like,
with me.
"Hey, let's get this game. It's supposed to be Payday 2 was really good. Come play this game with us." And so I got it as well. And I never experienced Payday 2, so I mean, I had fun. But I definitely bought into the way that they wanted you to play the game. And Connor was like, "No, let's play the game like Payday 2," but it just didn't work the same. So we had a little bit of interpersonal conflict on how to play the game. But we figured it out, and we had some fun. If like
We did.
it eventually got there, we had fun. It might be worth revisiting, but I don't know if they've fixed anything with it, or. But I'd be willing to revisit it.
Fair
Careful
enough.
what you ask for, Andrew.
Andrew, any other experiences with being burned by games?
Well, you know, I was a little bit burned by the No Man's Sky situation. Um, at the time when that was coming out, I was a poor college student, so um, I was just like, it looked really good, and bought it on console. I think I got it like on PS4, and opened up the game and immediately was like, this is not the same game. This is not the game that they told me it was going to be. And it was really bad. And I like left it. So I was like, wow, that was $65 or $70 or however many dollars that it cost as a poor college student going, I totally just wasted that. Like that was such a waste of money. I'm going to go back to playing Skyrim, which is literally what I did. Because I was one of those people that I bought Skyrim for the PS3 when it came out at release, and I bought it for PS4, and I bought it for PC, and maybe a couple times on PC because Todd Howard and Bethesda made a perfect game, and there's no other game that you could ever want to play in your life other than Skyrim.
Doesn't
I don't
even
know.
come
Maybe
close.
Minecraft.
I didn't get into Minecraft. That's one that I can't relate on that one.
I got my brothers into that game so hard. That's actually a special that I would plan on doing. Is just me and my brothers, and we're just gonna talk about Skyrim for like 5 hours. But anyway,
Yeah.
You go, girl. I probably won't join you.
Yeah, it was a great game. A game that I didn't get burned on. In fact, Bethesda delivered exactly what they said they were going to. And I don't remember to be any issues with Skyrim. I think there was maybe some bugs. You could definitely break the game pretty easily with some of the different crafting, enchanting, alchemy loops that you could do and break the game and have a buggy mess if you broke the game. But that was just because it didn't have enough processing power. There was not enough room for all the zeros that you could have. So then it went negative and didn't know how to handle it. But that was a feature, not a bug, and had a lot of fun doing that. But then let me think. There was a couple games that I had watched, like some streamers play, that I thought like, hey, that looks really fun. One of them was a game called Scum, which was kind of like a hybrid between like it was like a survival game, but also like a battle royale type game where like you could interact with like you start basically just as a naked character. You have to find equipment, find resources, craft better equipment and resources, and then at the same time there were other players that could either befriend you or befoe you. And then so it was just kind of like, hey, this looks really fun, this looks really cool, and then you get the game and you realize that there's really no game there. It was just that was the game, was you craft stuff and then you can hurt each other, and
that
then you
sounds like
can
Rust.
craft more stuff and then you can hurt each other, and kind of like
Yeah,
with
it
the
does.
promise of like, oh, there's gonna be some more stuff in here, and there's gonna be some narrative, and there's gonna be some content, and maybe today there's content, but I
Oh,
played all there was to play on it when it came out in early release and haven't touched it since.
the same people that made RuneScape made Scum. Jagex. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, Scum.
RuneScape was one that I did not get into.
That's right. That's a whole different podcast, but
That's a whole other podcast.
that's a whole nother podcast.
Just talking about.
But I'll let you guys know I did quit playing RuneScape just because I couldn't do it anymore. But Scum is still in early access.
And this was like 3 years ago when I
It's
downloaded
still
it.
in early
Or-
access.
Actually, let me go to my Steam library and see when I purchased it. Let me pull that up. My library.
Library?
And let's see here. Scum. Would it be in properties of when you bought it? Last played September 5th, 2018. So it's been 7 years. and it's still in early
Mhm.
development.
Right, but like that's the problem. Like we were gonna talk about this anyway, but like that's what early access has done to like there. So if you search early access on Steam, there's 13,620 matches for early access games on Steam. So like even chat VR chat, that's its early access still. Like it's so hard to it's just frustrating to see like all these different things kind of come into play. But like, oh, okay, maybe something because like some of these games actually are live. But it just feels like it's such a scummy business model to put out a game and just manipulate because with the way that games make the money curve works is most of the money they make on a game is like right when it releases. Um, Historically speaking, that's where like the biggest form of money comes in, and then it just like trickles off. It's the same thing with movies, right? Like when they release a big name movie, it's like opening weekend, bam, and then the following weekends just kind of taper off. That's exactly how like games work. And so like when you release as a game as an early access, the idea for a developer is just to try to cash grab as soon as possible at the very beginning and then work on it as you go. And like it's I don't know. I
So
think
I
it's
have 4 games in my library that if I advance filter and store tag early access, Assetto Corsa Competizione,
mhm,
EA Sports WRC,
yep,
PUBG Battlegrounds, and
mhm,
Scum are the 4
yeah.
games that I have that are in early access.
PUBG is still in early access.
It
I
ha-
think PUBG is live. I think PUBG is the 1.0.
I don't think that it's an early access, but it still has the early access tag in my
Mm.
library.
Mm,
And I remember having some fun on it. Like it was decent while it existed, but I'm trash at FPS, so I was hard carried by friends a lot of the time in this game. The last time I played it was in 2020, so it's been a good 5 years since I've played it. So I don't even know how the game has changed since then, or when it went live, what would have happened. Um, EA Sports WRC, didn't even realize that that was early access. Like I just thought that was like a AAA racing title. Here we go, buddy. And I had a lot of fun with WRC. A lot of hours spent in that game. Um, yeah, 57 hours. Uh, that's a lot for me because I'm a dad. Um, and
yeah,
then
you were freaking
ACC, I have
addicted
47
to that
minutes.
game.
What get WRC?
Yeah. Every
Yeah,
time I
I
look on
was.
there, you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm climbing the leaderboards on this one. I'm trying to get the number 1 world record on this one today." And I'm like, "Good for you."
And there was, I don't think I ever got number 1, but there was a few of the time trial tracks that I was like top 10, top 5. Um, but it wasn't because I was good at rally racing. It's just because I memorized the stage.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Cool.
Yeah. We do. Well, it's funny because I've been looking into the Le Mans Ultimate about the asynchronous co-op. So basically, it's a racing sim where basically instead of being able to physically all be in the same location, change off, you do single player, and you could like say I finish a stint of X amount of laps, and then I could pass it on to my friend who then could pick up right where we left off against CPUs. And apparently, it does a point system to determine like how good you do. And so like you can climb leaderboards versus the points. So like if you do clean racing and like you pass people, if you get past, you lose points. It looks like an interesting idea, but it's in early access, and I have sworn off on buying games in early access. So we will not be playing it until it comes out of early access. Here's the problem though, is they're hemorrhaging money right now. So I think the company's going to go under before they actually release the game.
Yep, and that seems to be the problem, right? Is a lot of these games either they're cash grab or it's not a scam. It's just the company falls under and they're unable to fulfill on their promise, and they have no funds to give back, right? Like they're unable to refund their funds because there is no money there. So what was it? I got burned really hard by a game called Starforge. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this.
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah, I brought it up. We've talked about it briefly on the podcast here back in 2014 by a group called Code Hatch, and they like this was definitely more scam than anything else, cash grab scam, where their release video looks absolutely nothing like their actual 1.0 release, and it was missing features. You could just randomly fall through the geometry. It was a buggy mess, and it finally got so bad that enough people finally reached out to Steam years later and said, "Get this off the platform. People are still buying it. This is not updated. Get it off." And so you can't even find the game on Steam anymore.
There's a game called Starforge that is on this. There's got no reviews. Still early in access.
Not the
Says,
same. Not the
not
same game.
It looks like a mobile game.
Don't think it's the same game.
Okay. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, you will not find it on. Yeah, no, the 2021. Yeah, that's nothing like that.
Okay.
So honestly, that looks like a ripoff of FTL, is what that is.
Yeah.
It's just the art style of FTL.
Mhm. Looks like a cash grab.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean that comes with a platform like Steam, right? Where they're trying to provide a like I said, a platform for creators, especially indie developers. And I mean we've been very blessed by having so many, new and creative games coming out of independent or even single individuals who are making games, and they're fantastic, right? My wife and I enjoy Stardew Valley, which was made by one guy, and was
a passion project.
it was essentially a passion project, and he's now he's worth millions of dollars, and good for him. He deserves it. That game is fantastic.
Masterpiece.
But then you also have other games like Starforge, or you have games that don't fulfill on their promise, like a game We Happy Few. I don't know if you guys have heard about this.
I've heard of that game, but I don't know what the drama is.
So the drama is that they essentially, in their early access, were advertising a different kind of game, and then they essentially switched the gameplay. I don't think they really changed the story that much, but it was more of like how the game plays and the core gaming loop. And people were not in for it because they wanted the kind of game that was being advertised previously. And so once that actually released, it got voted down pretty hard by its community.
Is it a multiplayer game?
I think it was supposed to have multiplayer.
Okay.
So I found a recommended review on Starforge from November 22nd, 2015 at 1:19 a.m. And it says, "How to enjoy this game, ... Simply open your Steam library, then right-click Starforge and select Set Categories. In the pop-up menu that appears, check the box next to Hide this game in my library, then click OK."
That's a classic Steam review if I've ever heard one.
Yeah, there is. Here's another recommended review, September 19th, 2015. Steam, what are you doing? Ellipses. Devs like this ruin the support for up-and-coming developers. CodeHack Hatch have no right to be promoting their cheap, underdeveloped games that have no intention of fixing. They ruin the reputation of Steam. Take this game down and stop the chances of anyone else sending money to these hacks.
Mm-hmm.
That was Dr. Roscoe. Thanks, Dr. Roscoe.
Thanks
So-
for the heads up.
So I mean, you have things like that, or you have, oh gosh, I mean, for every game that either under delivers or is an outright scam, and just you lose money and you never see it again. You do have games like Star Citizen, or not Star Citizen, but Endless Sky or One Man's Sky. Thank you. And where, I don't know, Andrew, have you gone back and played it recently?
No, I've some people have. I don't own it anymore.
Okay.
I got rid of it when I sold my PS4 to buy a PC. And I now have a PS4 again because one of my favorite games of all time is Bloodborne, which is a FromSoft Souls-like
Yeah,
game.
I need to get
And
that.
you can only play it on PS4. So that's pretty much the only reason I have a PS4 these days, is so I can go and revisit Bloodborne when I get the urge for it. So I haven't. I've heard that it's finally delivered what it was promising at release, and that No Man's Sky is actually like a comeback story of, hey guys, like, sorry we screwed up. Here's the real game now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and I mean, I also remember running into people who were playing that game when it first came out and really were enjoying it, and they, their argument is that it's like, yeah, their creator was saying one thing, but their actual like development team was trying to allude to, like, this is going to be a process. This is where we're going to try to go. Like, it's not going to all happen right at once. And so when they got it, they weren't caught up in the hype, because I distinctly remember, what was it? They had the creator of No Man's Sky on, what was it, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert,
Yeah.
right?
He was like he was
This
doing
was-
random stuff on just the most oddball stuff. You're like, should you really be on this
Yeah.
weird like promotional tour? Like, this has nothing to do with gamers.
Yeah, it was very odd, and to see the game come back around is exciting, and is a nice little feather in the cap of just saying, not all developers are scammers, especially within the early access. These people are usually well-meaning. They want to develop, and sometimes things go defunct. A game that I've been kind of watching is Kerbal Space Program 2. Have you guys ever heard of the Kerbal Space Program video game?
Isn't
I've heard of it.
Isn't
Never
number
played it.
2 just like totally dead?
Oh yeah, like
100%
dead. Like, out of nowhere, no more updates, and like, these guys have a established game. So what happened? Where are they? But it's radio silence, as far as I can find.
Yeah, I enjoyed a lot of KSP1.
Yeah.
Enjoyed a lot of that game, and just the sandbox mode and the story mode. Both were fun, I thought.
I've been playing that with my son, and he is now kind of getting into rockets. So it's like the perfect game.
And
for
it's
that.
way cheaper to build rockets in Kerbal Space Program than it is in real life.
Yeah.
With physics that aren't necessarily 100% real physics, but like close enough. Like, it's good analog. Like, you have to sometimes do science in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And by science, I mean save and then try
Mhm.
it. And then if it doesn't work, you revert your save and tweak it.
The old Pokemon style. Save and then do it and then reload reload where you started. That's fun.
Yeah, but like it's a huge like I remember just like such a cool feeling like the first time that you build a rocket that orbits Kerbal and like you actually get it to orbit and it's like, "Oh yeah, like this is a cool thing." And then like, "Oh yeah, and now that I have it orbiting, like usually the first time you do it, like it's this oblong orbit, elliptical. It's like this isn't great. So then it's like, oh, and then this is how you circularize your orbit. And you need a good circularized orbit so that you can travel other places. So like that's like one of the fundamentals of the game is learning how to start your craft from a circularized orbit around Kerbal before you go anywhere else.
I'll let you know KSB is still on Steam. They still want $50 for it, and all the reviews are mostly negative.
KSP2, yeah.
Yep.
And it's listed as, I believe, a early access.
Yep, it is.
And they wanted $50 for it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, that's because
$50
they ran off of the success of the first game, you know. Yeah, early access, $50, mostly negative reviews. Like in theory, it looks great. Like updated quality of life things from the first game, more craft, more things that you can do. Yeah, it looks really promising, but total radio silence.
Well, and doing a little digging here while we've been talking, it looks like what happened is, one company got bought up or integrated into another, and that project just fell on the wayside essentially, or they just don't have anybody to put on that game anymore. And yeah, you would think that they would have they would put something out like, sorry, this isn't coming out due to a mishap within the system. But it's just, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say to let people know, hey, this is a defunct game, because at the end of the day, it's someone's job to put together to make a game, right? And once you lose your job, like you kind of move on to the next project, right? And the developers are kind of a faceless people, right? They don't like, you don't really ever see them unless they're on making tours or anything like that. Like, so like it's difficult to say, hey, make an announcement on the official webpage when you don't, like, say you don't work for the company anymore or you got let off, like, and some executive somewhere just doesn't care. But it's also like this is an indie game, right? It's right under the genre of indie simulation. So
yeah, it's a small studio that was under the direction of one of the most notorious companies that does this kind of crap, Take-Two.
yep.
And what it looks like is Intercept Games, which was the actual developers of Kerbal Space Program 2. It looks like that entire team got laid off. So honestly, this falls on the publisher if the developer doesn't even exist anymore.
And I mean, they're not going to care. They've made their money.
What do you think the remedy is then? Does some like really passionate group of indie developers go and try to buy the IP and buy the game and finish it? Like what do you think the route forward is?
I mean, I think that's exactly what you almost have to wait till it goes to vaporware, where it's just no longer supported, and then you just have some random people just make it turn into a passionate project.
Yeah,
where they like the game. I think you said exactly. They like the game so much that they're like, well, we want to make an actual legitimate sequel to this.
Mm-hmm. Now, this actually dives into one little more thing I wanted to talk about here, and that was while researching for this episode, I stumbled across a couple of news articles within the gaming sphere back in February where they had announced that Steam is now adding kind of like a disclaimer on the early access games, kind of saying, like, hey, this is just early access. If the developer stops updating, that's kind of on the developer. Like, keep, as a warning, right? It's like, this is an unfinished game. It could be still in an unfinished state. It might stay in an unfinished state. My first thought while reading this was, this is about like 15 or what was it, 11 or 12 years too late. Like the early access area of Steam has been up for over a decade now. And,
well, it used to be not known as early access. It was like
it was a green
lighting.
Green light. I remember green light. That's actually, I believe, Starforge was a green light before it became early access. And they had to green light the green light before they could green light early access,
But like I think Steam had the intent of like the intent behind it was good, right? Like the whole point of Greenlight was like if you want to support the publisher as they're making the game before it's made and have like a good early access and just see how the game is made and play test it, you can buy the game and go for it, right? Like that was the intent behind it, and because that's how it was. That like at the end of the day, back at the time, everyone like when the game was announced, like there was no games that weren't really not made, like. Every game that was made was almost guaranteed to be made. Whether or not it was a good game or not, that's a different story. But now that it's been around for so long, developers have just kind of abused it and just turned it into a like I said, cash grab where they're just going to say, "Oh, we'll make an early access, we'll set it out there, and we'll make a decent little bit of money and not actually release the game, but somebody somewhere is making money, like whether they like it or not, like." That's just how it is, and then you move on to a different game. And then eventually you make enough partial games where the company goes defunct and move on with your life, and then someone makes a new company, indie company makes more games.
So is this kind of like the conundrum of like private equity? Of like, okay, so here I have this private equity firm that is going to create a shell corporation that is going to buy another firm from a business owner, and then what I'm going to do then is I'm going to sell all the assets of that firm to my shell company, and then turn around and sell the assets or sell the equity, quote unquote, when really what they're doing is gutting the company and then taking it to a bank and saying, "Hey, look at this great company we have," and getting a loan, and then letting that, like, dumping the shell company, and the shell company goes bankrupt. Private equity has all the assets. They made the money. The company's gone, and then we just move on and we do it to the next one. Like,
Probably.
is that what's going on here with these developers and like with these different things? It's
I don't think there's ever been like an official announcement for that, but I can almost guarantee that's probably what's happening.
At least with the KB or KSP2, that seems to be kind of the case, where they acquired these developers and then said bye-bye, and now they own KP or KSP, right? They own the rights, which is just gross, and but that dives us into a whole other discussion that is not a part of this podcast.
Let's talk about the seedy world of private equity. This is
private equity. How does it work? Nobody knows.
We just turned this into a finance podcast. Here we go.
Yeah, Dr.
Welcome to those Catholic finance bros.
Stocks.
Stonks.
Anyway, while I think that might be the case for one, I do think there is a case to be made that it's just, sometimes things just do fall through. And, especially with how games are being developed nowadays, specifically within the PC area, right? This doesn't really exist within the console world, right? You can't sell a unpublished game, really, or a underdeveloped or in process developed game on a console. I don't think that there's really a way in doing that. But I do think we're dealing with we're dealing a little bit with some charlatans, but we're also dealing with good intentioned people that just ran out of time. Or you're dealing with every now and then just companies that take a look at your project after they acquire you and say, you know what, from an investment point of view, this doesn't. We just don't see. We think that we can allocate our resources somewhere else, and they get the boot, right? And that's kind of what it looks like. What happened here? Arguments can be made on: is it good for businesses to be hyper focused on performance and stats and all that? But
Well, where that kind of really comes from, like in the business world, it goes all the way back to a lawsuit between two car companies. This is Dodge versus Ford.
yeah,
Where
yes.
Ford was looking at, hey, we want to pay our people better. Because Ford figured out the production line. Ford was dominating. Dodge was trying to compete with them, and Dodge made the argument of, well, no, you can't pay your people better, because if you do, then shareholder equity will be affected. And as a corporation, our responsibility is not to the employees, but to the
the
shareholders.
shareholders. Yep.
And
And
so,
now we've deviated from that to
Oh.
stakeholders, which is a whole. Once again, we're diving into another thing that. But
Welcome
yeah,
to those Catholic finance bros.
well, but it has to. But I think, but that lawsuit set a precedent for all companies, and
Yeah.
game studios are companies that this applies to.
that's true.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no, you're not wrong. I think at the end of the day, I make this tongue in cheek, but it has some merit to it. We need to bring back physical media, where that when you cannot
Mhm.
actually release a game unless it was a physical disc, right? Like, and if you released you couldn't release an unreleasable game if it was on a disc. Like, you just have it's a bad game, like that's just all it is. Like, if it's on a finished game and you release it, it's just a bad game. Like, and the whole idea of this online marketplace and Steam, it makes it easier access to get a hold of games, yes, but like it also creates a whole different issue of how games are made and like how the purchasing process, and right, where it then becomes loot boxes and gotcha mechanics of how it's not about the actual initial release of the game. It's how can you make money off the DLC, right? Like, there's day one DLC, right? Of why didn't you just release this within the original part of the game? Well, no, you want to make an extra buck on top of it. And so, like, that's a whole nother problem with an early access of, okay, well, we'll do early access, but there's DLC within the early access game then. And that's a plague in of itself. Like, where you have an early access game that you're paying for DLC, like this Le Mans Ultimate, like it's in early access right now, but you can buy a crap ton of DLC for it, and it's not cheap. Like, each pack is $15, and the initial game is $38. So like, it's just all it is just compounding the money on top of it, and just trying to constantly just be like, oh, let's release a little bit more, a little trickle feed it. Well, if you want the new stuff, you gotta do the DLC. Well, it's like, this doesn't make any sense.
Well, but this, like, physical media, I don't think solves the problem, because right now Ubisoft is trying to make the argument that you actually don't own games. And
Yeah.
even if you have the physical media, all the physical media is a license to play the game.
Yep.
And it's just a physical way to have the license. And so whether you have the digital license through a Play Store or through an app, or if you have the physical license, you don't actually own the game. We own the game. You just have the right to play it when you purchase it. So it's a really weird concept, but I can see what they're thinking of like, hey, this is our intellectual property. Like, this is Ubisoft's intellectual property. This isn't yours. And if you're buying it, that doesn't mean that you get to take it. And then, you know, some of those like now like older things, like you can get your hands on a PS4 developer kit, and you can go in and you can adjust games and start modding console games and such like that. And so they're making the argument, well, no, don't do that, because you don't actually own the game. You just own the right to play it.
We are gonna sue your ass into oblivion.
Or, yeah. All right. Well, before we tie everything up, I would just want to say one last thing. Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. Need I say more?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, I don't know. I don't know
now
this.
that you remember that was another Connor hype game.
Yep.
well.
Star Wars Battlefront, right? A big, like 2003, 2004 first-person shooter. You're a clone in Star Wars, and you're just playing that.
Yeah. Like the OG Xbox, like Halo era, except Star Wars.
Yeah, precisely, right. And well, they came out, or what was it? There is a company that usually takes games and
Aspire.
tries to update them and provide them for Mac and Linux is kind of their bread and butter. And yeah, Aspire is the name of the company. And so they were able to do the same thing with Classic Collection, or so they said. And it has turned into a heck of a nightmare. They released it with trying to provide updated graphics. Usually they do like updated things. They essentially allowed for you to play the game in 1920 by 1080. No updated on the actual graphics.
No. There was slight upgrading of the graphics.
Okay. Slight upgrade.
Slight upgrading.
The multiplayer, what was it? A release date had 3 servers, Connor?
Yep. 3 official servers, and you could
3
only play on
official
official. You can only play on official servers. You couldn't create like a separate server, like a dedicated server.
Yeah, so you had thousands of people who went in and bought this game, like Connor, to play on opening day or right around it, and just couldn't because the servers were flooded.
And not only were the servers flooded, when the servers weren't flooded, there was so much lag that you couldn't even attack anyone. So like it's not a hit scan. The projectiles in this game were not hit scan. There were actual physical projectiles, and that's a big part of it. The lag was so atrocious that you couldn't actually shoot anyone.
Most helpful review in the past 30 days. It just doesn't butter the sausage like it used to.
Yeah, I have seen that too.
So yeah, essentially, I don't know what happened here because
I will say though, the single player, they nailed the single player.
They did.
This is a great Steam Deck game if you want to play only the single player.
Okay.
So like, it's not totally the worst game ever made, because the single player is just as fun. Like Galactic Conquest, just as fun as the original game. They nailed the original game. You just couldn't. The online, anything online, a travesty, just a complete utter joke. But single player wise, great game.
Well, but that was part of the thing of buttering the proverbial sausage from the past, was playing the multiplayer experience of Battlefront.
Yeah.
I mean, to an extent, I grew up only playing the single player because I was a loner, but whatever.
Oh, I did too. Well, I didn't play the game at all. I went to my cousin's house and we played it on his PS2.
Yeah, I didn't have a PS2. I had a Nintendo GameCube, so all my experience with Battlefront was at friends' houses.
It was a great game. Like it like I said, single player, still a great game. It's just anything multiplayer wise, just a travesty. So,
but you know what game holds up to this day that delivers exactly the experience that you think you're gonna have?
Chess.
7 Days to Die.
Microsoft Solitaire.
Minesweeper.
Minesweeper.
Space Cadet. Pinball.
Mm-hmm.
No, I've been on a big solitaire kick lately. Maybe it's just the stress of trying to get a house sold and starting a new job in a different city and moving a family and all the things. It's like I don't have the bandwidth to like play through another campaign of something. I don't have the bandwidth to like get super invested in a narrative driven story game. My sim racing rig is packed up now, so like I can't drive on WRC or R Factor 2 or anything like that. And so it's like, you know what? I'm just gonna put black cards on top of red cards and cards on top of black cards. And
I remember when Solitaire came out in early access.
you're old.
What? I bet the guy who invented the playing card.
Oh, in China.
I told him
Chinaman that created the playing cards.
I told him it would never catch on, and he was crazy.
Nah,
but-
man, that's not gonna work.
Fake news. Fake news. Alrighty. All right. Well, anything. Well, I guess, or what was it? We've basically given our opinion. I think the Catholic, I'm no theologian, but I think the Catholic perspective on this is scams are bad. Don't scam people. That's
so let's bring
do not
in,
harm your neighbor.
The great doctor of the church, St. Thomas Aquinas. Let your yes mean yes and your no mean no. So if you're going to create a video game, just do what you said you were going to do.
Game.
I mean, that's Christ. That's literally Christ in the Bible, but okay.
just do the thing that you said you were going to do, and then
Yeah.
it'll be okay.
Yeah. And if you screw up, it's okay to say, I'm sorry, we screwed up. And, it's like, if you ran out of funds, like trying to get people at least some money back, like if you are unable to deliver, like is admirable. But usually some people are able to understand, hey, this is an early access game. This was a crowdfunding or whatever. I'm not going to see that money. Right. That's like some people are able to understand that. But, it's, yeah. Don't be a dick.
That's Scott. He's a dick.
It's just like it's like the South Park episode, like BP Oil. We're sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just think
we spilled oil into the ocean again. We're sorry.
Sorry.
I just think of the banking.
Yeah.
You put your money in the bank, and we're gonna put this into this fund. We're gonna put that into that fund, and it's gonna go into the stock market, and it's gone.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
What?
sir.
It's
You need
gone.
to leave
It's
here.
gone.
This place is only
you
for
don't-
customers only.
Yeah, well, I am a customer. Nope, no open account. Your money's gone. It's gone.
Oh, my favorite.
How did you decide this? Well, first we behead a chicken, and then we throw it on a board, and then see what happens.
Oh, such yeah.
The social commentary those guys have is spot on.
Yeah.
Most of the time, they're very good at what they do.
That they are. Although we can't recommend that you actually go out and watch anything that they put out.
Unless you are an adult with good moral foundation and can understand the satire of it.
Mhm.
So limited adult audiences on the South Park.
On select episodes. Most of them are just offensive.
On that note,
Alrighty.
take us out,
Yep.
James.
Alrighty. Well, thank you everyone for listening. If you liked what we had to say, if you didn't like what we had to say, but if you like the sound of our voice, feel free to go ahead and give us a like, follow, comment, reach out to us. You can always reach out to us at catholicgamerspod@gmail.com. Andrew is a recluse when it comes to the internet, so we're just gonna pass him over. Connor does stream and publicly lets other people watch him stream video games on Tuesdays, 7:30 p.m. Central Time to about 9 p.m. Central Time. You can always find him at twitch.tv/fatalcondor. You can also find his YouTube channel at YouTube, his channel name being Fatal Condor. Of course, you can always find me here. We do have a Twitter account. It's Catholic or TC Gamers, I believe is what I have it set up for. And then you can always find me on my Substack, amalemillennial.substack.com. And yeah, with all that being said, thank you all for listening, and God bless.
Bye. Have a great time. I'm watching the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. They're looking at it, the pictures and their promotional stuff. Looks nothing like their promotional stuff whatsoever. It looks exactly like the original game, and they